I want you to look at something today that Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. I'm going to start reading in verse 9. And he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I will rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in needs, in persecutions, in distresses for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong." Today's Bible passage seems to fly in the face of all logic. How in the world can anybody take pleasure in their infirmities or their reproaches? Tolerate them? Sure. Endure them? Of course. But take pleasure in them? When I first hear an expression like this, I can almost see some of the ancient ascetic monks, guys who like to head off into the desert and whip themselves with knotted cords, or sleep out in the elements, or deliberately starve themselves, or, at least in one documented case, literally spend 37 years living on the top of a pole. It was almost as if they actually enjoyed pain. And you've got to wonder if that's what Paul is getting at. Maybe he's trying to purify a guilty conscience, and he somehow feels better by suffering all that pain. But take a closer look at the passage. You'll see that's not the case. Paul's not one of those weird religious types who always needs to be punished or miserable in order to be happy. And I know that because in another passage, Paul talks about how much he also enjoyed times of prosperity. In this case, Paul is looking through the hard times to something valuable hiding just beneath the discomfort and inconvenience. Listen again to what he says. "I will boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me." You see, it's not that Paul wants to be sick or weak. No rational human being wants that at all. But he recognizes that in his present condition, he has no choice but to lean utterly on God to get things done. And that's important when you consider the context of Paul's work. You see, it wasn't his work to begin with. It was something that was clearly assigned to him by God. And of course, if God were to open the sky right now and call you by name and give you a personal assignment, I'm guessing you'd do everything in your power to get it done. I mean, after all, who wouldn't want to please God? But it's important to remember that God doesn't call people because He needs their smarts or their eloquence or their ability to debate. In fact, if you think about it, God pretty much has the talent department all sewn up by Himself. He doesn't need our talent, but He does ask for it. And as far as I can tell, there are a couple of reasons. First of all, the story of Jesus, carried from one broken sinner to another, is a powerful way to communicate the gospel. A man or woman whose life has been changed by the power of the living Christ touches hearts in a very special way. In addition, the work of sharing the gospel is a two-way street. While you're busy sharing your faith with someone, you will be forced into situations where you realize you just don't have what it takes to get this done. And it's at that point, like Paul, that your weakness becomes an incredible strength. Because now in your weakness, you're going to get to see the power of God firsthand. And of course, at the end of the day, this also means that pouring your whole life into the service of God, weaknesses and all, is just a better way to live.